Hello everybody, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United news. News. I mean, it may as well be a nose. Pinocchio's bloody nose. Have you seen this rubbish that Man United are looking at Loftus-Cheek and Ndidi? I mean, God. I just don't know. I don't know where to start on this tonight, but I will unload. I mean, look, is this just not the big issue at Manchester United? And also, you know, even it's almost like we have a couple of good days and then reality bites us on the bottom because Man City are losing 3-1 to Bodo Glimt. Like, Bodo Glimt have scored more goals than we did. We should have scored 5, to be fair. But are we actually just overhyping Saturday now a little bit? Because Bodo Glimt have scored 3 goals because they've got a shit defence. No, I'm not having it. I'm not having it. We're still glazing up the derby, but it's great. You could say Man City were good and we've just absolutely destroyed their confidence and now they're losing to Bodo Glimt anyway. So, and we should have scored 6. I completely agree, Savage. We've also got the Spin Masters leaking about ex-players again to detract from what they're doing. Apparently the hierarchy are really frustrated with ex-players taking a pop at the club. You know what? The hierarchy are frustrated about ex-players taking a pop at the club. I'm frustrated that the hierarchy has buried the club for the last 2 years with constant bad decisions, you spinning shits. Martinez can be frustrated. You can't sit there going, oh, well, I'm really frustrated as well. You know, I'm Jason Wilcox and I'm frustrated about the ex-players. Yeah, I don't think the ex-players decided to sack managers, spend $500 million, sack half the workforce, knock Old Trafford down. You spinning shits. Anyway, lots to get into tonight and they can swivel on it, says Mum Ra. Exactly, I love the name. So, got loads to get into tonight, but you might see that I've got a hoodie on. I always like a Boohoo Man hoodie. They're a good fit and we are sponsored by them. So before we get into the show, we've got a bit of trivia, but don't forget the show is sponsored by Boohoo Man. Link in the description, scan the QR code. We love Boohoo Man here and you can get an extra 10% off with the code Goldbridge. Get yourself kitted out with stuff like this, loads of different colors, loads of different items, gym wear, underwear, Netflix and chill wear. They've got the lot. Get it delivered to your door, boohooman.com, and you can get lovely hoodies like this and a load more. And they do have discount-wide discounts anyway, but if you use the code Goldbridge, you'll get a discount on top of the discount. So if it's 40% off and you use the code Goldbridge, you get an extra 10% off that as well. So check it out, QR code or link in the video description. And because Boohoo Man loves promotions with the United Stand, they've given us something that's very specific to us. That's an exclusive code as well, Goldbridge. I was born on I was born on 27th of November, 82. I began my career at Cannes before moving to Sunderland, where I made my Premier League debut. I joined United in 2003 and made 40 appearances for the club. During my time at United, I scored 6 goals, including a notable league goal away at Leeds. After loans to West Ham and Nice, I left United in 2006 and signed permanently for Nice, later moving to Bordeaux and then Red Star Belgrade. I knew it was going to be somebody shit. Yeah, it's David Bellion. David Bellion. I didn't know who that was. I mean, I know who David Bellion was, but sort of falls into the Beppe Overton category. Yeah, Jemba, Kleberson, just a shit signing of Sir Alex's. You know, he did do it sometimes, to be fair. Anyway, big thank you to Boohoo Man for supporting the show. And don't forget to use the code Goldbridge to get your discount and get items like this. Right, let's get into the show. There's a lot to get into tonight. We're not going to talk about City that much at the moment because I just think at the end of the day, you know, we beat them. We got the 3 points. That's all that matters. But look, I don't necessarily think it was a tactical masterclass. I think Carrick'd did a really good job. He picked the right team. We counter-attacked at pace, 30% possession. You know, I heard Beth earlier saying that Mainoo covered loads and loads of ground. Well, of course you're going to do when you've only got 30% possession. I mean, I don't think how much ground you cover really is a statistic that you can just hold up without context. But it was a really good performance from United. I think we should do the same against Arsenal and just pick up results. You know, that's all we can do. But, and we're not going to talk Nicky Butt. We're talking a big butt here. You know, bigger than, I won't say it. You can't be buttist. But the reality is, United have been linked to Loftus-Cheek and Ndidi as a loan deal. Now, what I will say is, and I know I told Beth to say it at lunchtime, so you might have missed it if you didn't, I'll repeat it. The mystery loan deal from Friday, it's not Loftus-Cheek. So if we're in for Loftus-Cheek or we're not in for Loftus-Cheek, it wasn't Loftus-Cheek on Friday. That's not the player I've deducted it is, and it's not the player that Ben Jacobs was talking about. It wasn't It wasn't Loftus-Cheek. However, apparently we are linked to him. We've been offered him. We've been offered Ndidi as well. This is the news today. This is absolutely dreadful. This is just... look, I'm not going to act surprised because I did say to you yesterday morning that I'd figured out who it was. And essentially, it was certainly not going to go down happy. It's a very mid-signing. Ndidi has had multiple hamstring injuries. He was a good player about 5 years ago. I remember being linked to him 5 years ago, and maybe we shouldn't have bought him then, but I certainly wouldn't be excited about bringing him in. In defence of Carrick, something's better than nothing. Absolutely. If you're Michael Carrick and you've been offered Loftus-Cheek or Ndidi, and that's all you're going to get, you're going to take one of them because it's better than nothing. But bloody hell, let's move away from Carrick and let's move away from the players for a moment. This is embarrassing. It's absolutely embarrassing. You've got teams like Man City going out there buying Guéhi and Emmanuel. You've got Spurs spending 40 million or 35 million or whatever on Gallagher. I think Aston Villa are about to get Tammy Abraham in because they need a striker, a backup striker. That makes sense. But Man United, who desperately need midfielders, are going for Loftus-Cheek because AC Milan don't want him anymore, and Ndidi because Besiktas don't want him anymore. This is Manchester United. These are the sort of deals I think West Ham would consider doing. These are the sort of deals that, lower bottom Premier League clubs do. We're trying to get in the bloody Champions League. It's embarrassing. I mean, I'd sack Wilcox if I was Sir Jim Ratcliffe just for saying, shall we do it? I'm sorry, this is a non-negotiable for me. These are shit deals. Now, someone's going to say, but would you do it? As I said, if I'm Michael Carrick and it's that or nothing, I will do it. But it's nothing to do with Carrick. It's nothing to do with the fans. If you say you'd do it, I'd do it over nothing. It's the fact that that's what we're looking at. That's what we're looking to do. It's as I said before, it reminds me of Weghorst and Ighalo again. It's crappy loan deals for short-term fixes that solve nothing. They solve absolutely... We shouldn't be doing this sort of stuff. It's embarrassing. It really is. And I think that on the one hand, it's like we're building for the future, this, that, and the other, and they go and get linked. Look, and I'll tell you for free, talks have been had. Talks have been had with one of those players. 100% talks have been had. So it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. And you know what? Do you know what? I have a bit of a theory here, and I forgot I was going to say this. I was thinking about it earlier, and I thought, I've got to remember this for the show. Has anybody ever considered that this might be spin? Has anybody ever thought that this might be spin from the owners? And what I mean by that is, right, you don't want to buy anybody in January. You know everyone's saying buy a midfielder, buy a midfielder, buy a midfielder. So why don't you subvert the argument and go for a really crap midfielder so that people say, I'd rather have nothing, which is what they want in the first place. It might be a wild theory. It might be a hot take. But have you ever considered it might be spin? The fans want a midfielder. So let's get linked to a really crap midfielder so the fans go, I'd rather have nothing. I mean, I was listening to the show at lunchtime with Beth, and she sort of said that, didn't she? She said, I'd rather give Ugarte a chance than go with Ndidi. And, I completely agree. I'd rather give Ugarte a chance than go with Ndidi, but that means not buying anybody. Is that not what they want? So it could be spin. It could just be, put it out there that we're thinking about Ndidi or Loftus-Cheek. The fan base will go, I'd rather have nothing, and then we get what we want anyway. Maybe we're just being played. Maybe that's what it is. And don't ever think the club wouldn't do that, because they will. So, I would say it's embarrassing. We've got a fan base with the standards of Real Madrid, and we've got a board with the standards of Stoke. I mean, they genuinely think these are the sort of deals that we should be looking at. But look, it's almost impossible to embarrass the name Manchester United more than this ownership has over the last 2 years. But they'll give it a bloody good go. And it's hilarious. I don't think there's... I've not seen anybody today mention anything about this is a good deal to do. Everybody thinks it's bloody embarrassing. So, and look, as I said, if you're Michael Carrick and I'm the manager, I'll probably say I'll take it over nothing. But the fact that they're offering that up is another indicator of just the real problem at Man United, which is the board. You know, it's embarrassing. It really, really is. It could be spin, but let's remember who is in charge. They aren't capable of intelligence, says Mike JW. Good evening, sir. Thank you very much for your super chat. Neil's given us a super chat as well. He says, Amrim said in his Leeds post-match press conference, if we can't handle outside noise and criticism, we need to change club. Chikorito says, Mark, why we as United fans never are in United terms of getting Ineos and Glazers out? Is it because we're easily spun by some good results? Oh, Chikorito, you look at the last week. We've beat Man City. The Glazer out movement stopped. Everyone's talking about Nicky Butt and Paul Scholes versus Martinez, not talking about Ineos out. And now we're talking about a loan deal for Ndidi. It's impossible for us to sustain it, unfortunately, yeah. And this is a great point from Patrick. He says, it's funny how some people were decrying Gallagher as not being good enough for United. And here we are, not even looking in the bargain bin. We're just looking at a regular bin for deals. Absolutely shocking. And this is exactly why, Patrick, many of us said, Ruben Neves, Conor Gallagher, yes, please. We need a midfielder now. And what's available in the market, they are definitely as good or better than some of the midfielders we've got and improve our midfield quota. Look at what we're looking at now. So all those people who are going, I don't want Ruben Neves, I don't want Conor Gallagher. Well, look at what you're looking at now. Look at what you are looking at. You are literally looking in a bin, which is exactly right, Patrick. Best in class, my arse, says Dave Owen. I'm sure whoever it is will be a Poundland midfielder up. Absolutely, says Ginger Red. Man City are losing by 3-1, says Robert. Yep. We just have to scratch our way to the end of the season. Honestly, I don't care what the board does anymore, but let's please get European challenges regardless of Europa League or Champions League. Got a great quote from Emmanuel Petit on Enrique as well, which is a massive dig at the club. And I wish an ex-player had said this, by the way. I'll read it in a minute. Ndidi would have been good 5 years ago, not now. I completely agree, Porth. And what are your thoughts on my January window proposal to Won't Cox? Mateta, 35 million, plus Neves, 20 million. Champions League vibes. Yeah, I do, Paul. I think Mateta, as an experienced striker, would be a very good signing now. You know, I think it would be very useful for Sesko. And, you know, Ruben Neves would be very useful for us as well. If this is the sign of recruitment, get Wilcox out of our club, says Mike, and please don't unload on us. And hi, Mark, can we just call out these jokes out of loans? Do we really want these cast-offs that their respective clubs do not want? It's embarrassing, says Mike. Well, that's it, isn't it? I mean, Leicester got rid of Ndidi. And where was Loftus-Cheek? Was he at Chelsea? Ray Simpson says, going for Ndidi and Loftus-Cheek like we're loving the sloppy seconds. Go get Ruben Neves, take up a level or two. Enrique and now full control, says Ray. And Sean says, hope all's well. Watched the Beckham documentary recently. It's almost depressing. I know, the good old days. And Daniel Thompson says, I hope you're well, Mark, and United stand. We should be shopping in Harrods, yet our owners shop in Poundland. Plenty of decent players we could get. Neves an example, but the board owners insist on going for mediocrity. Yes, I mean, look, I don't want to disrespect Ndidi and Loftus-Cheek, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing to be going for those types of players, and it's a sign of the times. It's a sign of who we are. Robot says, hi, Mark Goldbridge. I'm on your side because I hate what's happening to our football club. I'm sad. I feel like we're slowly dying. You get my point. Thank you very much. I'd prefer Baleba over Loftus-Cheek or Ndidi, says Evan. Oh, 100%. I mean, I don't really think that Baleba's good enough, but certainly. Right. Anyway, do you think we get Mainoo a new contract for spin? Also, do you think Mainoo waits until we get a permanent manager to sign a new contract? Says Tyler. I mean, if I was Mainoo, I would wait, but I think they will do that contract, yeah. We destroyed City, Mark. They're losing against Bodo Glimt, and they have a strong lineup as well. Also, Ndidi provides zero excitement, says Rajaf. And have you heard Won't Cox is launching his own fashion brand? Poohoo Man, says Paul Cassidy. Palace sold their captain. Go ask about Wharton, says Nathan. Exactly. I wouldn't be surprised, from what I've heard, I wouldn't be surprised if one of the top four moved on Wharton or Anderson in the next 10 days. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, I'm not saying it's definitely going to happen. I just wouldn't be surprised. Do you like vegetarians yet, Mark, says Superdoodle? Well, I'm doing Cooking with Goldbridge at the end of the week, and it is a vegetarian dish, potentially, if you don't put the meat in it. I would have paid for a top midfielder now, and Ineos are embarrassing, but maybe they're worried about next manager and his preference for the midfield, says Shahin. Well, maybe they should worry about Champions League football because the next manager ain't coming if we haven't got that. How bad is our finances if we can't pay 15 million, says Keel. And okay, right. I want to move on a little bit because obviously we've got the 8 o'clock on That's Football, and there's a few bits I want to get into tonight. let's have a look here. Sorry, I just had a message from somebody. I absolutely cannot tell you who it was from. Okay, so don't know what that shit is. This was, well, there's two things I want to talk about the ownership. I mean, they're getting it tonight, let's be honest, but got a little bit on Diamonde as well. But this is what Emmanuel Petit said about Luis Enrique. I really liked it. He said, should Enrique go to Manchester United, the circus of Man United, do you think a guy like Luis Enrique would work there? He goes to Man United. Do you think that will work with all these clowns behind him at Manchester United? Those guys are saying to the manager, you should do this, you should play this player. Why did you say you would like to get this player? No, we're not focused on him. We're planning to bring another player, just like what happened with Enzo Maresca to Chelsea. Can you imagine the likes of Pep, Luis Enrique, Jurgen Klopp, Carlo Ancelotti coming to Man United in their current state? Not a chance. It's like they want a puppet. And I presume that's a genuine quote because it was on United exclusive this morning. But, I mean, that's not even a Man United ex-player. That's an ex-Arsenal and Chelsea player who realistically could speak positively about Man United because he wants us to continue to fail. And he sits there and says, why wouldn't Luis Enrique go to a club where it's got a bunch of clowns who want a puppet, who don't know what they're doing, who are going to tell him what to do and what he can't do? I think you know, it takes Emmanuel Petit. But you know, it's incredible, really. And you know, well, you know, what's your thoughts on it? Sorry, I've just been out to send something. Okay, so yeah, look, it's fascinating, but it's true. I'd rather stick with Mainoo, says Ryan, and why not go for Barella, DePaul, Kalanoglu if we're going short term, says Emperor. Cobby is Seedorf regen if looked after, says Cooking. I mean, look, in relation to Mainoo, I really like Mainoo. I think he should have been playing more football. You know my stance on that, but I also am a realist, and one decent game with 30% possession against Man City isn't enough. It's never enough. It's Manchester United. You've got to do it week in, week out. So I don't want to run away on like overconfidence, but let's see what he can do over the next few weeks. I mean, one of the first things Michael Carrick's done is stick him in the team, and I think with playing a 4-3-3, there's nobody that's going to take his spot. Like Bruno will play as the 10. Casemiro or Ugarte will play as the 6. There is no competition for his place, so he's going to get a lot of game time, isn't it? But he's not, you know, he's not Seedorf, he's not Edgar Davids, he's not bloody, you know, he's not Frank Lampard, he's not Steven Gerrard, he's Cobby Mainoo, and he's got a massive career in front of him. You know, he's not even in the England squad at the moment, is he? Because he's not been playing. So we just need to get the best out of him over the next few games. And look, couldn't ask for a better game to be playing next, could you? Arsenal, which I'm looking forward to seeing Arsenal later because they've got a good midfield. So, you know. What's the latest on Ruben Neves, Mark? There was no latest. CROC07 the Goats. There was no latest. Hi, Mark. Well, there isn't a latest, is there? Because we're not in for him. Like, I don't know where it's all come from, but we're not in for it. I still don't know where it came from a couple of days ago when people started talking about it. Nobody with any credibility has spoken about Ruben Neves to Manchester United in the last few days. Can we dress Dalot up as a towel and send him to Morocco, says Liam. Thank you very much. And also, how bad is Afan? I've done that one as well. Now, look, just a bit of a slight change of direction here, but this sort of caught my eye this week, today. So I'm going to use it was mentioned in the Mail, but it's also been mentioned on TalkSport as well, that Manchester United, the Man United hierarchy are increasingly frustrated by the amount of criticism former players are directing at the team. I don't know whether this is a brief because two separate outlets have spoken about it today. And you know what it feels like to me? It feels like a brief, and it feels like the club, who have been under immense scrutiny and pressure for the last few weeks because of bad decisions, have sensed in the fan base this debate between Martinez and ex-players and have gone, yeah, we've had enough of it as well. Yeah, we're with the fans. We've had enough of it. Like for the first time ever. They never think about the fans. But yeah, we agree. The ex-player criticism is terrible. But it's almost like your mate gets caught kissing another girl, and his missus finds out and has a pop at him in public. And then the guy who's been shagging the whole street stands up and goes, yeah, it's disgusting. It's disgusting what he's done. And everyone looks at them and goes, what are you getting involved for? And that's the way I sort of look at it. Like the hierarchy are frustrated by players criticising Manchester United. Hold on a minute, right? Hold on a minute. Martinez has got the right to say what he wants, right? Harry Maguire, any other player. If they get criticised and they want to say something in an interview, whether we think it's right or not, they can do that. But the board can't start saying we're frustrated at ex-players taking a pop at Man United, because fundamentally it's your fault. It is your fault. You've sacked 2 managers in 18 months. You've spent £500 million on those managers. We're playing shit football. We've got no direction. We've got no vision. We haven't even started the stadium yet. There's a you've sacked a director of football that was apparently 10 out of 10. And then you've decided, we can point score a little bit and say that we're mad about ex-players. Last time I checked, Nicky Butt didn't spend £500 million on players. And it wasn't Paul Scholes who sacked 2 managers. So shut your mouth and stop trying to jump on the bandwagon, because you're the bloody problem. Sticking up for Martinez, absolutely fine. The board going, yeah, we've had enough of ex-players. Well, if you don't want ex-players to say bad things about you, maybe pay them to be ambassadors. Otherwise, shut up and get on with running the football club. Spin masters. That's what they are. Spin masters. Wait. City's losing to Bodo, says Mazraoui. Yeah, they were their early kickoff in the Champions League and they are losing. Yeah. But look, but it's the same thing all the time, isn't it? It's this, the whole club is just always just one big PR washing machine. It's spin, 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 spin. Like, anywhere they can find a way to detract and distract, focus on them, they'll be on it, and they've obviously seen that there's some anger towards ex-players at the moment. So they are, yeah, well, we're frustrated as well. Yeah, you're the problem. Mikael says, sign centre midfielder now who fits any system. Buy Anderson in the summer. Add veteran striker to mentor Sesko. New left winger, left back and right back. Sell Mount, Shaw, Dalot, Casemiro and Agate. Almost sounds too easy, isn't it, Mikael? But I guarantee you we won't do half of that. We just won't do it. We won't be in a position to do it. Apparently Rodri's been sent off as well. Okay. Any watch-alongs today on That's Football, says one. Yes, we are live on That's Football in about half an hour for Arsenal against Inter Milan. The Ruben Loftus-Cheek of it, says Paulie. And more people here than watching the City game, says Prey. And City nor Arsenal need to win tonight, really, though. Yeah, but it's still quite a strong team that they've put out. Look, Man City's not our problem. We beat them. Let them crack on with their season. We've played them twice. We won't play them again until next season. So leave Man City doing what they're doing. But we've still got 11 days left in this window, and I think we should utilise it. There are certainly options out there, but we seem to be. I don't know. I do think there's a lethargy around United. I think in the fan base as well. I mean, it's seriously incredible that we're not doing anything in this market. When you think about it, it really is incredible. I know we've had an incredible start to the year with sackings and interims and Ollie nearly coming back and beating Manchester City in the derby and getting knocked out of the FA Cup. It's been a roller coaster couple of weeks. However, the one consistent thing we came into the window with was we need to buy players. And despite all those major events we've been through, we haven't brought anybody in. And that to me is criminal. It's incredible because obviously on January the 1st, I didn't expect us to be sacking Amorim, interviewing Ollie, giving it to Carrick, going out of the FA Cup, beating Man City in the Manchester derby. I didn't expect all those things to happen, but I did expect us to be active in the transfer market because it's imperative. It is imperative. We desperately do need better players bringing in. And I think it's a risk not to do something, but always it's about money. It's always about financials. They're terrified of spending money. We have got money, but they're terrified of spending it. And that's problematic because if you don't take risks in football, you end up boring. Are you worried that Southgate becomes the long-term manager at the club, Mark, says King? Well, it's a danger that's always there, isn't it? I wouldn't say. I mean, it could happen. It shouldn't happen, but it could happen. Mike JW says, here's a thought, Mark. Instead of digging for biggest corpses, how about... Sorry, let me get my words out. Instead of digging for biggest corpses, how about we sack Wilcox and get a competent director of football? Good plan, I think. Well, it's an essential plan, really. If they don't get rid of these jokers, then we are changing nothing from the years and years of the Glazers keeping Ed Woodward and John Murtagh and Richard Arnold. You know, it's maintaining the mates rates and the status quo, isn't it? For 10 years, United have recruited people because of whether they like them, not whether they're good at the job. And if Wilcox and the rest are still here next season, then that continues, doesn't it? Thoughts on Siddiqui and Agate swap? Spoke about it this morning. Don't think there's anything in it, TNX. Ryan says, do you think Pep's sandbagging for a new CDM? Even asked Rodri to get sent off tonight. As I said, look, if you're Manchester City, why would you wait till the summer? Why would you wait till the summer? There's an FFP case that could come out before the summer. There's still a title race. There is still a title race. If they beat Wolves on Saturday and we beat Arsenal on Sunday, the gap's 4 points. So there's still a title race. There's still a Champions League to be won. There's still an FA Cup and a Carabao Cup. I mean, technically, Man City could still win the quadruple. It's mad, isn't it? Because they've lost to us and they're losing to Bodo Glimt. But they could still win the quadruple. If I was Man City, I would go and try and get Elliot Anderson. Because why not? Forest might resist it, but why not try? Wouldn't surprise me. I don't analyse the Man City squad enough. Do they actually need a midfielder? I didn't feel that their midfield was that good against us. Rodri looked a bit, he's like he hasn't played for a year. Bernardo Silva and... Was it Bernardo Silva and Foden? It's not a very good midfield, that. And their back four's not very good either. City were losing 3-0 even before the red card, so no complaints there, says Smart. We need some good midfielders like when City buy Haaland, a player that's already doing well, not a player that's learning. We already have academy players, says 3D. Just a couple of topical bits as well I wanted to discuss. So Mazraoui is apparently going to get another few days off. I mean, he has just played in a major tournament. So, but they're hopeful that he might be back in contention for the Arsenal game. I think with a lot of these AFCON players, they have come back and gone straight into the squads. I think Mamouche is on the bench, isn't he, for Man City today? And obviously we got Ahmad and Mbeumo back. But apparently United have given him a little bit more time off. But we don't play till Sunday, so even if he's back training on Friday, it's not like he's coming in without match fitness. So Gav says, I don't think he'll start. I don't think he'll start either. I don't think he'll start against Arsenal. I think he'll have a bit... To be honest with you, I think he'll have a bit of a work. It'd be interesting to see how... I mean, Michael Carrick, we don't know. Like didn't Michael Carrick drop Bruno in his first game? So he might... You don't know what Michael Carrick's going to do. He left Cunha out, didn't he, against Man City? So I would hope that Carrick has it in his head, like everybody else, to play Mazraoui over Dalot, because Mazraoui is better. But I do think Dalot will be playing against Arsenal. And he did play well in the second half against Man City. But I don't think Mazraoui is going to start against Arsenal. No. Eman says Dalot will get a red card against Arsenal. He did have one before, didn't he, in the Cup last year? Yeah. Glazers made an NFL squad even worse when there is no relegation. They have to seek help for their financial situation, and they use United in the stock market, says Lorenzo. They did win the Super Bowl with them, though. Not that long ago. How did City get Gahey for 20 million? Must have been some brown envelopes in the background, says Jay. No. Again, I don't know why this needs to be explained, but I will. Gahey was out of contract in the summer. Liverpool and Arsenal were waiting for him, so you don't give Palace anything, you just give him money. What Man City did was quite clever. They basically offered Gahey what Liverpool and Arsenal were going to offer him in the summer, and then gave Man City 20 million. And Man City obviously looked at it and went, I'm not, you either get 20 million or you get nothing. It's not a fair price. It's not what Gahey's worth. It's what Crystal Palace were willing to take. They might have took 10 million, I love Roy Keane, but he's 100% bitter, says Stam. I think there could be something in Carrick replacing him years ago, and he might have thought he'd fail way back then, says Stam. I don't really want to go back talking about ex-players tonight, really. You've got a lot of ex-player conversations going on, and they're entitled to have their opinions. Roy Keane being bitter again about Michael Carrick, I don't see it. I don't think it'll be to do with that. I really don't. You've been long pausing a lot lately. Are you okay? I've just had a couple of WhatsApp messages coming in that are completely nothing to do with football that have sort of took my focus off for a little bit. But well observed, Mazraoui. The Glazer family have won 2 Super Bowls with Tampa Bay, says G-Man. They have, yeah. They have. Well, they won a Champions League with Man United, but we had Sir Alex then. Would you be opposed to Lewandowski on a free in the summer, says Mikhail? Oh, absolutely, 100% yes, I would be opposed to that. We've discussed this before. He's about 92. He's not. I think he's 37. But you don't. We've done this with Cavani, Ronaldo, Zlatan. We're not doing this again. I want to buy more players over 26, but I don't want to buy more players over 34. That's incredibly stupid. So wouldn't make any sense. Lewandowski's a much better striker than Mateta, but I'd rather bring Mateta in because you're going to get a few years out of him. He's Premier League proven, and I think he'd be a good second striker, first striker competition for Sesko. So I'd much rather do something like that. And I'm not saying that Mateta's better than Lewandowski. I just think it suits the circumstances better. Do you think Mainoo could be as good as someone like Scholes, says Sean? You'd like to think so. And he's young enough. He's only 20. So you can't say that Paul Scholes at that age was better than Mainoo, because I don't think he was. I think Paul Scholes, I can't remember the age that Paul Scholes sort of started breaking through. And Scholesy started as a striker as well, sort of like a number 10 striker. So, and Paul Scholes ended up being world class. So you'd hope that it can happen with Mainoo. I think it's very difficult. It's very difficult to achieve that sort of status in the current United setup. You could argue that Mainoo would be better off going and playing elsewhere if he wants to be world class. But we retain hope. We retain hope. Constantine says, do you think 2026 will be a better financial year? I don't know. I don't know. We haven't got any European football. We're playing 40 games instead of 50. Revenues are going to be down. I can't see how financials will be better, but if we get in the Champions League, it'll help. Falcao too, I really wanted him to succeed, says Shahin. Thank you very much. Moose1 with a super chat says, I've seen Nicky Butt say no one recognised him when he called Manchester United office due to his season tickets. Ex-players are worried about being forgotten. I sense bitterness, just an opinion. I really don't. I mean, look, I don't want to talk about that. I'm bored to shit with it. Like, we've actually had a show tonight where we're ridiculing the ownership again for going for people like Ndidi and trying to jump on the ex-player bandwagon when they're the problem. I don't want to get back on the ex-player. I don't know why anybody wants to start talking about it. I thought last night's show was one of the worst shows we've done in weeks because we were talking about ex-players against current players. I just don't want to talk about it. I don't really care about their bitterness or whether they're bitter or anything like that. But I don't know why they'd be forgotten. The longer we don't win anything, the more we talk about when we were good. You know, I think the biggest issue as a legend of the club would be a future team having a period of success and winning things. because then you do start to get forgotten, I suppose. Mark, so Jim should have left out the C and L from best in class because that's what he's served up so far. Best in Ash. Your name's Ash. Best in Ass. Cavani is missed, says Barrack. I didn't like the signing of Cavani at the start because he was injury prone, and I was very, very, very vocal about that. I thought it was a bit embarrassing going for somebody like Cavani when we needed to go for somebody that was more prime and fit. But what we saw with Cavani, and I was proven right, like he was injured a hell of a lot. So I was right. We needed somebody that was more consistently fit and younger. Having said that, when we got Cavani, I loved it. He's just such a top quality player. I loved it when he came on against Southampton. I think we were losing 2-0 at half time and we won. Just a brilliant, brilliant striker. He couldn't stay fit and he was too old. I would love us to have signed Cavani when he was like 27 because I really did like Cavani. Brilliant, brilliant striker. However, he was injured a lot and we didn't get much out of him. United gave City PTSD and now even Ballon d'Or players have shaky legs. Good win by Bodo Glimt, says Alex. Thank you very much for that. When United signed Bruno, was it the same situation as of now, says Emma Emshaf? No, I mean, Bruno Fernandes was a top signing in January. Hi, Mark. Is it time for Dalot to move on, says Black Bear? Not in January. I mean, look, one of the positives, if we ever get there, and I don't really, I mean, whatever, but one of the positives, I suppose, as much as I didn't agree with it, and as much as it was about changing formations and not spending money in January, and it wasn't about results, the sacking of Amorim, with him now gone, I think Dalot would have been here for a very long time if Amorim had stayed. And Bruno out of the midfield is a positive as well. So, I don't know, maybe the next manager comes in. Look, I think the next manager needs to come in and not give everybody a clean slate. I'm so tired of Ten Hag, Amorim, Van Gaal, Mourinho, Ollie coming in and going, everybody gets a clean slate. And then all that does for the fans is go, oh my God, these players aren't good enough. And you keep giving them a chance and putting them on the leadership team. Actually listen and do some research and get rid of them straight away. Walk in the door and get rid of them. Like, you know, I think that needs to happen. And maybe Dalot could be one of those players. However, I thought he played well after the first 15 minutes in the derby. I think there was a good player there 2 or 3 years ago. And if he can rediscover that, great. If he can't, then, you know, you do move him on. Arsenal now have the power to change things. They have rifles on the bench. Well, I was just having a quick look at the Arsenal lineup against Inter Milan. Big game at the weekend. They have made a few changes. No Declan Rice. He's not started. Jesus starts. And neither does Gabriel. So they've gone with Raya, first teamers, Raya, Saliba, Timber, Zubimendi, Saka and Trossard. So half the team really have been left out. Declan Rice is on the bench. Gabriel's on the bench. Odegaard's on the bench. So yeah, bit of rotation there, which probably makes a bit of sense from them. And they're not playing us till Sunday. But I think. Look, obviously we'll preview the game later in the week, but I think we're going to be a difficult proposition for Arsenal. We're going to go and do what they hate. They hate all these teams that go and park the bus and counter, and we're going to go and park the bus and counter. I don't want Man United to play counter-attacking football, by the way. I hate it. I don't like it. But against teams that are better than us, it's logical. Sir Alex used to do it in Europe away from home. You win your home games, and away from home, you counter and try and get draws and wins. But if you lose, you know, whatever. So I think we've got a great chance against Arsenal on Sunday because we'll play the style of football that they don't like. We'll be compact on the edge of our box, and Casemiro and Maguire are good in the air for the crosses. And then we've got the pace on the break. It could work. It could work. Right, 7:45 people are waiting on That's Football, says Nuke. Okay, you are fair. You make a very good point. Thank you very much for that. 9,000 legends watching tonight, but only 800 likes. Please smash a like on the video. We will be back with you at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Fantastic show tonight. Don't forget to check out Boohoo Man. 10% off with the code Goldbridge. Really enjoyed the show with you tonight. If you want to continue the conversation, I'm over on That's Football watching Inter Milan against Arsenal, and I'll be there in a couple of minutes. So thank you everyone for tuning in tonight. Stay safe. I'll speak to you all in a bit.